Alright, Essence Drain Trickster build overview. Let's go. So, real quick, before I jump into the Trickster ED stuff, towards the end of the video, I'm gonna have a quick recap of my Bane Trickster setup as well, which was what I League started with, but unfortunately the character died to a disconnect. But at the end of the video, I'm going to log into that character and kind of go over a little bit of the changes for people that are interested in the Bane thing. But mostly this is going to be on the Essence Drain, which is what I've been playing for the last almost a week on the Hardcore Synthesis League, and just go through all the basics of the character. So first up, I'm going to toss in a map, doing a T16 Minotaur, nothing too difficult. Frenzy charge on hit, shouldn't be an issue, and show off a bit of the gameplay. And yeah, so it's an Essence Drain build. If you've played Essence Drain before, the style is very similar. It still plays just like Essence Drain always has. If you didn't like it then, you're probably not going to like it now. But that being said, it is much stronger in just about every way than it has been in the past. Both the damage of the Essence Drain, the defenses of the character, and also just the area of effect of the contagion, thanks to getting a full extra support gem worth of AoE there. And unfortunately, didn't get the greatest synthesis encounter here to show it off, but normally this skill does very well in these, especially the open area ones where there's just huge amounts of monster density where you can chain 4 or 5 or even more packs of mobs at once with a single ED contagion cast. And it's not the, overall the fastest skill ever, but it does go pretty damn quick, especially considering what you'll see against the boss, how tanky, ridiculously tanky the character is. And the damage isn't too bad either, thanks to utilizing a 5-link blight setup with a hungry loop ring. So I'm just going to try and zoom through the rest of this map. We'll get over to the boss, we'll kill us a boss, and then I'll jump into the specifics on like the gear and the passive tree and all that good stuff. Just kind of cover it all as quickly as I can. So you'll see on maps like this one, where it's not a super crazy layout, it's not a very juiced up map with sextants. It is pretty limited in speed by the fact that I'm double casting on almost every pack. But as long as you keep it to nice layouts, you can't really do much about it on the T16 Guardians, but the nicer layouts like your shape choices, you can definitely get more chains like that one I just had. And it turns it into a pretty good speed skill. Alright, so first up, for this boss, I have been doing a swap here where I will drop out my contagion entirely in place of Bane to gain some more damage. Normally I just run the whole map with this Bane setup. This 4-link Bane is completely capable of clearing, but I wanted to show the contagion ED for the sake of the build. And so what I've done is I've now got Bane linked to my Despair Curse, which was on a Blasphemy before, and I've replaced it with a Purity. Since I got a white socket on my gloves, I can make that whatever Purity I want. And I'm going to pre-charge my Blight on the before the boss since it builds up charges thanks to the updated Trickster node. And then we'll jump in and we're just going to kind of stand here right on his face, not really give a fuck. Frenzy charges, no frenzy charges. And yeah. So the boss hit me a single time. That's about how they usually go. Trickster's very nice. So now let's show why things are that way that they are. First up, start with the gear. Uniques. There's only 2. One being the body armor perfect form. It's just, this chest is insane with the new Trickster. You get phase acrobatics, which is a lot of spell dodge without the regular acrobatics penalty to your energy shield, which we don't want. We've got quite a bit of that. In addition to giving decent ES on it, some decent life, a free Arctic armor, and percent evasion scaled by your uncapped cold res. So what that means basically, if we go here to defense, the number in parentheses here, 105 cold resistance. It's also giving me 105% increased global evasion, which ends up buffing it way up compared to most other body armors. And just the spell dodge having really good synergy with other sets of spell dodge that the build has. And then we've got, going along with that, some Aziri step boots. You can get rare boots that are kind of similar with temple mods with movement speed spell dodge hybrid, but you're just not going to get as much evasion. Ignore the enchant on that just happened, and I need to get rid of this pair. But yeah, movement speed, a lot of spell dodge, a ton of evasion, and you can make up your resistances elsewhere, so we're fine. And then the last thing is the Hungry Loop, which is where the Blight is. As much as I would like to have the Blight in a pair of Allelopathy gloves instead, it just doesn't work with this setup because I just don't have the gem space. You can see every other gem socket's already filled up, even though this ring is basically giving us an extra 5. We just don't have the space to use the gloves with this current spec that I've gone for. Those are the uniques. For the rares, we've got a interesting new scepter, a synthesized scepter, which is got a chaos damage implicit instead of the normal elemental damage, which I created by quick version of how to make it. I bought 3 double fractured scepters. They want 2 fractured mods. That way when you scour it, it'll stay rare. Just that's how they work for whatever reason. If it's 2 mod, it'll stay rare even when you scour it. That let me just go straight to the bench, and after scouring it, I crafted % chaos damage. This one that costs 4 chance orbs. Did that on all 3 weapons. Throw them all in the synthesizer, and then you end up with a double synthesized new weapon that has a pretty good chance of hitting chaos damage. It's not very expensive to try that, and it shouldn't take more than a few tries, I think. I don't know the exact math on how it calculates the odds and all that. But then after that, I just crafted for cast speed, regaled it, annulled it, and multi-modded for the mods you can see there. Just a bunch of damage mostly. And then other than that, the rest of the gear is pretty straightforward. My gloves are synthesized. This is just coincidental. I think I made this pair and it just rolled like this when it came out. Not the greatest resistances, but really good life and evasion and ES, which are all mods you want. You really want a lot of evasion. You really want to get, your ES going and all that. And then the belt was just a purchase, some life, some ES, some res. I think the ring is the same deal. Life and res. The amulet's got life and res, and I actually crafted minus mana cost because I found that when I was fighting bosses, when I was channeling Blight, I would actually run out of mana sometimes if I was trying to combo my other spells in with it. But with the just -7, solves it entirely. Everything's good. And then I've got a nice hybrid shield, life, ES, and a bunch of res on it. And my helmet, I actually went for pure energy shield, no life whatsoever, because it made it much easier to craft with. I would like to get more ES on this, but the cost of fossils are pretty crazy this league, so this is what we went with. I was using dense and aberrant fossils. The dense provides all the ES, and then trying to get that minus chaos res aura for some extra DPS. And mine has a blight damage enchant. You can pretty much, there's a lot of enchants you could use, blight stuff, essence drain stuff. Possibly even like Despair, Curse Effect, or maybe Discipline, Reduced Reservation. Just get a Hubris Circlet, get high eye level, probably go for pure energy shield. And the reason for that, why the helmet specifically I want a pure energy shield, other than helmets being able to get quite a bit, is if we go onto the passive tree, you can see, I believe it's Escape Artist, plus 5 evasion per 1 max ES on the helmet. So every bit of ES we're getting here is just more evasion. And yeah, that covers the gear. So moving on to the tree, you can see we've got a lot of just fizz, chaos damage at the start. These are just for the chaos damage, scales the dots. A lot of life, a lot of damage over time. Drop down here for some chaos res, more damage over time on Method to the Madness. And other than just life and damage nodes, the only things that really stand out is a Hexmaster, some curse stuff here. It's especially good for blasphemies, the increased area of effect. We've got a little bit of ES and a tiny bit of mana right here. This just helps with the sustain. Flask effect. Our dual curse so that we can run Enfeeble and Despair. I was running Enfeeble and Temp Chance for a while, but the character's just so freaking tanky I didn't feel like I needed it anymore. little bit of aura reservation over here so I could run all the stuff I'm running. A discipline and double blasphemies. Well, right now it's a purity, but normally it's double blasphemies. And then a spreading rot jewel, which is letting the blight apply withered, so we don't need a dedicated wither setup. I wasn't a huge fan of wither totems anyway. They die too much on bosses. So the fact that blight can just do it on its own is really great. And then the ascendancy nodes, in order of where I picked them up, would be Swift Killer, bunch of damage, bunch of speed, gives you all those charges. Weave the Arcane gives mana sustain. If you stay MOM early while leveling, it gives you some defense as well, and the reduced damage taken. And then what I would recommend to do is Merciless Lab, take Patient Reaper. It's just because this 4-point side over here isn't great until you get both. But then I would drop it as soon as I got Uber Lab to get Ghost Dance and Escape Artist, getting the Ghost Shrouds, which is the new mechanic that heals you 4 energy shield based on your evasion whenever you get hit. And that's quite a lot of healing that it does. You'll see in a second here. As well as some damage mitigation. And then Escape Artist giving bonuses that get more evasion, more energy shield, a bunch of attack and cast speed, up to 36%. And a bunch of spell dodge. So when we combine all this, you can see on my character sheet, with no flasks up, I'm at 12,500 evasion and 66% chance to dodge spells. So the evasion's taking care of the attacks, the spell dodge is taking care of the spells. But then if I hit the flasks, we jump up to a ridiculous 41,000 evasion and 75, which is the cap on spell dodge. So spells are only hitting us a quarter of the time. Attacks are hitting us probably even less with 41,000 evasion and blind from this and enfeeble. And with 41,000 evasion, that means that the recover energy shield equal to 5% of your evasion is giving us over 2,000 energy shield back on the off chance that we do actually get hit. So we don't get hit very often, and when we do, if the flasks are up, we're getting healed for 2,000. So it has to do more than that to even break any sort of damage. I think that covers the tree, though. And then finally, go through the gems real quick. So if we swap back to the normal setup here, which is the Essence Drain Contagion setup, you will see I've got in the body armor, Essence Drain 6-linked, Control Destruction, Efficacy, Arcane Surge, which could also be an Empower. I just don't have a high enough level one yet. And then Swift Affliction and Void Manipulation. If I had the Empower, the Arcane Surge would go back to the Contagion, where I've currently got an item rarity sitting, because the way that it works with damage over time is since I cast Contagion first, it gets awarded the kill shot on, at least on most things, so I'm just getting a little bit of free rarity there. And then otherwise with Contagion, we've got increased area of effect, and the new Intensify, which is basically just a second increased area of effect, as long as you don't spam the Contagion, which you're not going to be doing. You're going to be casting it, once per pack and moving around. And then the weapon, we got Shield Charge set up, Faster Attacks Fortify. The gloves have the auras, Blasphemy, Enlighten, Enfeeble Despair. The boots have the other ones, Discipline with Arctic Armor, and then also my Flame Dash. And the shield has Castle Damage Taken, Immortal Call set up. And again, the ring has the Blight. So that's the gems. That's the tree. That's the gear. What's left? Pantheons? Pantheons. Sounds good. Soul of Solaris. Sometimes Soul of Lunars. I switch between them both. They're both really good. Really depends on just kind of preference. But for the minor one, I've been using Soul of Tukohama. It's really strong when you're sitting still channeling. Up to 8% Fizz mitigation and 2% life regen. Definitely recommend. And then also the bandits. Kill all the bandits. Get them skill points. Don't need any of that other crap. And I think that covers the build. So yeah, before I end the video, I'm going to real quick, very, very briefly, log over to Standard to my Bane character who was ripped at the start of the league to the disconnect. And just kind of show this one. It's a slightly different setup. There's no perfect form body armor. We just have regular phase acrobatics on the tree. We actually have mind over matter because I don't need to reserve my mana for blasphemies since the Bane is applying the curses anyway. You can see here just real quick, Bane, Despair, Enfeeble, Efficacy, Control Destruction, and Arcane Surge. And it's pretty much very similar tanky-wise overall. About the same HP, much less ES, but we've got a full mana bar here to keep us safe as well. And then I've got actually 2 Blight setups here, but it should probably just be 1. I just didn't get to switch. But I have a Blight and a Vol Blight. And it plays pretty similarly. I'm just going to be running around casting Bane. It's more versatile, I would say, than Essence Drain, because there's maps where Essence Drain is just bad in. There's not really ones where Bane is bad in. But in the maps where Essence Drain is good for, Essence Drain is going to be quicker than the Bane will. And as far as single target goes, they're very, very similar. And so you kind of just walk around and one-tap everything. The only problem is if you miss aim a little bit, you might leave a straggler or 2. You got to keep an eye out for. Or you can just pop that Vol Blight to take care of those. And with that, I think that pretty much covers everything. I will have links to character profile links, path of building stuff, all that good information that you might want to look over again in the video description. Get you covered there. And that should be all. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, make sure to ask in the comments. I will try to get to as many as I can when I can. Because I've been streaming quite a bit this league. Who would have guessed? New chaos spells, a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks again guys for watching. See you next time. Later.